Well, I'm so excited about sharing these empanadas with you. This is a recipe that was not given to me, but was stolen.
Stolen by you or for you?
Stolen by me.
Okay, perfect.
So
I'm still owning up to it. I think that's fair.
Yes, I have thieved this recipe from my boyfriend G, who is from Argentina and has made me empanadas on many occasions. And he's one of those guys who really doesn't want anybody messing in his kitchen when he's in control. And so he wanted to do it all. And I just watched. And after watching a few times, I was like, I think I could do this. And so I did. And I think I'm better at it than he is.
Oh, them are fighting words. You've absconded with the recipe for empanadas. Well, I'm going to lean on you a lot here about the empanadas because really the only thing that I know is that they're tasty little pastry pockets of heaven and I love them. But that's like literally where I draw the line. Now, I will say that I knew the colors of the Argentinian flag. And so as I try to do in every episode, have themed my way into Argentinian empanadas by wearing a light blue, and I have white too. It's in
there it is.
Yeah, here it is. White and light blue, and this is in honor of the little sun.
Yeah.
The flag is my yellow hat. It's also covering up this line of gray hair that I have in the front. I'm going to just rabbit hole for a second and say that my hairdresser, I love her to death, and they got sick last week. So I couldn't get my hair colored. And when you're 47 years old, it's either like I either need to buy a box to color it or let it go completely gray, but I don't have the patience for that because there's too many stages of foulness in between. Or I have to try and go to the hairdresser every couple of months and have them do it. And so I was scheduled to have them do it and they got sick. And so this baseball cap is pulling double duty as the Argentinian sun and coverer of gray hair.
I appreciate that so much. And as a fellow dark-haired person with gray hair, it is brutal when they start to grow out, even just the tiniest bit. It's like somebody's holding a flashlight on your roots.
Especially when you're on like Zoom all the time. And, when we're doing the podcast, like I start finding myself in the middle of a meeting, like, what am I? Stop. People can see you.
Yeah.
But it's really, they come through really fast. And I'm not embarrassed by them at all. I know this episode is about embarrassing moments. I want to state for the record, like there is nothing embarrassing to me about gray hair. Some people look absolutely stunning with gray hair, and I can't imagine them not having it. But again, my hair is so long and so thick, and the amount of time that it would take for all of my hair to go gray, I, one, don't have the patience for, and two, I start to like really feel my age more. It's like a personal thing. I don't like looking in the mirror and seeing my gray hair. It makes me feel like I'm not taking care of myself in the way that I'd like to take care of myself. And so, how sometimes like you forget that having your like right now my nails look atrocious, but sometimes you get your nails painted and you're like, oh my God, I forgot how good I felt when it's something so simple. Like I could just spend 10 minutes and paint my nails, and like I just forgot how good it makes me feel. It's that way with my hair too. That was like a really long diatribe about gray hair, but there you have it.
No, I agree with you in so many ways. I have a vision board that has a woman with long, beautiful gray hair on it, and I want to be her someday. I do, but it's not today.
It's not now.
Yeah, and that's okay. And it's okay. And I love it when I see people who are able to embrace it right now. But you're right. There is a level of commitment that comes with getting all of this, because you either have to cut it and go short and live with a line until you get to a point, or you have to have somebody really amazing who can work on your hair and help to blend it. And a lot of really talented hair designers do not want to take on what I bring to the table. They You're like, I don't think you're ready for that yet. Come back to me in 10 years. And so that's what I'm doing.
You're right. It is a commitment. And my commitment extends to wearing a baseball cap until my hairdresser can, cover it on up. But let's get back to the empanadas.
Yeah.
This is like, I don't know how we segued seamlessly from empanadas to gray hair, but there's no way to seamlessly segue back to empanadas. So here we are.
There is. Sure there is. We're just doing it in a very ungraceful way. So.
Yeah, so empanadas, again, I know I'm leaning on you tremendously here for your empanada brilliance because I have a zero to offer about them, aside from the fact that I really enjoy eating them and can't wait to dig into this one that you made, which is massive. It's like the size of my face. Like, can I just, for a second, for people who are watching, like, this is amazing.
It's a big one. It's a big one, guys. It's a big gulp of a
It is.
empanada. Here's the story of why they're so big, because usually they're maybe, I'd say half that size, a little more than half that size probably, but they were sold out of the regular empanada dough that I usually buy because I keep making empanadas and I keep buying them. Like, I cannot tell you, I've lost count, but 2 weeks ago I made 48 empanadas, and a week before that I made at least 20 to send to Wyatt's school.
Can I stop you for a second? Why 48 and not 50?
That's how many I had. Sometimes the dough gets hard, and so you can't use that one for the frying because it falls apart and then things explodes and you've got meat floating around in the oil, which is no bueno. So what we did instead was throw those hard ones away, and then I got left with 48 or however many.
Okay, fair enough. I just, like in my head, I'm like, why not? I mean, it's still an even number, but
yeah.
why not?
Well, they sell packs of 10 or packs of 12.
Ah, well then there it would be. Yeah.
But as I was saying, they don't restock them frequently at Kroger. Apparently, they didn't realize that I was opening a side hustle food truck of empanadas, and so I had to move on to the bigger size is what I'm getting at.
You know what's actually interesting? There is a very specific to empanada food like pop-up that just opened recently here in Nashville.
Oh, well, yeah. You're going to have to take me there.
I haven't been yet, but they even have like a sweet empanada, like sweet potato dessert empanada.
Okay. Yeah, I've tried empanadas all over the world, and I have to say that mine are the best.
You know what? I fully believe that. And on that note, I'm going to dig into it. So I'm going to, well, first of all, I'm going to say that I, as always, really love pairing a wine with whatever we're eating whenever possible. It's not feasible for episodes where we're drinking coffee and things of that nature. But in this instance, I thought a bottle of Albarino would be nice with it. So let's toast with our Albarino and our empanada. I'm going to double fist it. Empanada in one hand and Albarino in the other, and see if I can.
Oh, you picked it up. I should have done that. I'm holding it.
It's the most clumsy, like, what is happening here? It's the most clumsy thing I've ever done. But
thank you for the wine.
Thank you for the empanadas. You're kick-ass in the kitchen.
Oh, that's good.
It's so good, right?
Yeah, it's almost like apple juice.
It is kind of like apple juice. Talk to me a little bit about what's inside of this empanada.
Yes, so inside of this empanada, you will find ground beef, hard-boiled egg, red pepper, yellow pepper, onion, and some seasoning. I kept it very simple, very easy, very chill. And one thing that I did learn today, as I was making these, I asked Alexa to please tell me what she knew about empanadas, the history of them, or some fun facts or something. She did not know much. You
know what? Sometimes Alexa's a dumb bitch. I'm just saying.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. She's quite helpful to me, and we love our AI. It's listening to us right now. So we're going to talk.
But I should not talk badly about her. It's like in 20 years, she's going to stalk me and murder me in my sleep.
Oh, God, I hope not. That's very scary. I don't think she's vicious like that. But I think what she did tell me was that traditional Argentinian empanadas usually contain raisins, which I have to clear with G because I don't know if that's true.
I mean, that does sound feasible. Is it raisins and also potatoes?
No, she's listed it. Just what I gave you plus raisins. So
No, I think that's highly possible.
Yeah.
Because there's that sweet and savory combination that I could totally see that happening. Also, when you think about, like, meat pies are like the Americanized version of empanadas, or like hand pies. I think, there are a lot of hand pies in the South, I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And I have definitely had like meat pies or even empanadas. Actually, there's a restaurant that I love here in Nashville for those who aren't, part of the neighborhood, called Lachlan Table. I love it so much that I named one of my dogs after it. That's how much I love it. And they have empanadas, and it's a rotating selection of empanadas. I mean, it's just sort of whatever Chef Hal has on the agenda for that evening. But I've definitely had raisins in an empanada at Lachlan Table.
Yeah, I've had fruit empanadas, so it doesn't sound absurd, but with the meat, I was like, I don't know if I would like that. But Lachlan does a great empanada. I'm a fan of that empanada for sure. The best empanada I've ever had was, of course, in Argentina.
I'm sure.
And we had gone, it was the most magical thing. We were there last year, about a year ago. And G's whole family, he's got so many wonderful people in his family. And he's one of 6. And so we got everybody together.
I didn't know that. He's one of 6?
Yeah, he's one of 6. And they're all so beautiful. Like, they look like they could be in some kind of magazine. Like, they just are stunning people. And so kind and warm, and just, it was the best trip of my life by far. But what made it so great was that he's got family in Australia, Argentina. He's here in the U.S. One of his brothers is in Mexico. And they all came together for the first time. And like, since having grandkids, it had been like 15 years since they were all together at once. And so his mom was just so happy, and it was awesome. But not everybody spoke Spanish. Not everybody spoke English. And the kids they found a way. It was just so cool. But we got to go horseback riding in the Andes Mountains, and it was so beautiful. And then we got hungry, and we were like, we're going to find a place to eat. And so we came down the mountain, and we stumbled upon this little restaurant with this man who was so amazing. Like, he just had like all white hair, and he was very tall, and he was very joyful, and he was so happy that we were all there. And there were 20 of us that came to lunch just on a whim, and he just set us up with this table and brought out platter after platter of empanadas.
Wow.
And it was so good. It was so good. And we were there for like 4 hours just feasting. It was like the most amazing meal I've ever had. And he kept bringing out more and more and more, and it just got better every time. It was so good. And 20 people ate for like $150. So
oh my God.
it was like so cheap. But we had so much fun. We went back a second time, and G like hit it off with this man who was making all this food and bringing it to us. And they got their picture together, and they had a real bromance happening. So it was
the real question is, did he get the recipes?
No, he didn't. And we'll never be able to find this place again. Like,
no.
It's just like
a once in a lifetime thing where you dream about it forever. And even if you went back, it wouldn't have the same magic, because it was a moment.
Yeah. I don't know. It might have the same magic as long as Mr. Nick is there.
Fair enough.
But it was awesome. And it was just like the most, like, I ordered a fish at one day that like this whole fish came out, and it was just incredible. But anyway, the empanadas were on point, and of course they were, because we were in Argentina. But I've had fruit ones. I've got went to Miami and had empanadas there, and I was just like, nothing compares to what I had or what I can make.
So, question, do they serve it with, so for example, at Lachlan Table, they serve it with their house chimichurri sauce, which is absolutely delicious. So do most empanadas in Argentina come with chimichurri sauce, or is that like a different, that's just like a here combination?
No, chimichurri is big in Argentina. I feel like G loves chimichurri and he puts it on a lot of things. I think that you can put it on, like, there's a multitude of salsas that could go on, but he's more of a minimalist, so we don't do a lot of sauce on when he's around, but I do like a taco sauce on mine sometimes. Yeah.
Great.
Always eat it. Like, you can eat an empanada however you want.
Right. I'm loving it by itself. I just know that when I've had it at Lava Table, they've had chimichurri, which I also am a huge fan of. But I've also had chimichurri on so many other things. It's almost like a universal condiment. You know?
Yeah, it goes on everything. Maybe not this, but everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the empanadas are absolutely incredible. They are light and flaky and perfect, and you looked adorable in the kitchen making them. And I did snap pictures for anybody who would like to see her deep frying an empanada.
I feel it. That's so my
Exactly. I have to embarrass you about that for a minute. And then that's also a good lead into the fact that this episode is also about embarrassing moments. And boy, do I have some doozies for you.
Let's hear it.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Are you sure? Do you want me to start or do you want to start? I mean, because I could talk forever.
I know. Well, I feel like I haven't had much of my empanada yet, so I'm gonna eat that while you talk.
Fair enough. It's like dinner theater.
Yeah, it is.
Good. Okay, well, so I'm gonna start with like my first, I think the first embarrassing moment in my life that I can remember is it was my birthday, and I was in 5th grade, and there was some sort of like announcement. Everybody was like, "Hey, Jenna, your dad." There was an announcement to like find out where I was, and I was in the cafeteria eating, and somebody was like, "Jenna, your parents are here." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I turned. My dad was a server. He was a lifelong server at this really gorgeous restaurant in Connecticut where I grew up, on a waterfall, and amazing restaurant. Very upscale. And my dad was incredibly good at his job. I have a dog who's apparently disagreeing with my telling of my embarrassing moment here. But so my dad and mom showed up at my school on my birthday, and my dad is carrying a tray. He's in like his server's tuxedo, okay, with like a thing over, like a towel draped over his arm, and a tray in his hand. And I'm sorry, can you hear that?
Yeah, but it's fine. I'm not bothered by it. We're real live people.
Well, that's true. We are real life people. That is one of us is real live eating right now on camera. It's amazing.
No shame here. I've got these stories coming, so.
Yeah, so he's got like brie and grapes and crackers and stuff on this, and like a birthday cake. And he gets the whole freaking school to sing me happy birthday in the cafeteria. I was mortified. Even worse, my mother was dressed as a clown in like a freaking wig, and she was videotaping the whole damn thing.
Oh,
so yes. So happy birthday to me, my because at 10, that's pretty embarrassing. So that's like my first, I think, time that I recall really getting red in the face and feeling embarrassment.
Did you have a reaction as like, what was your response to that in the moment versus did you have a conversation about it later? Like how
I mean, actually, this was 37 years ago. I'm lucky I remember the fact that they walked in and videotaped it and did it for days. I don't know. I have no idea.
That's fair. I just wonder because I had a cousin who, on her birthday, we went to a Mexican restaurant and they brought out one of those hats, the sombreros, and they sang to her and she lost it and just sobbed and slunk down under the table and cried and come out. So I didn't know, like, if you had a visceral response like that, you would remember. But clearly, it was cool. Or it was just like a little embarrassing.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. I do remember that, like, all of the grades above me were there, and that was the most mortifying thing for me, was that these, you know, 7th and 8th graders or whatever they were actually, and I said I was in 5th grade, but I lied. I was in 6th grade because I was in middle school. So, you know, elementary school, I might have gotten away with it because I had grown up with all those kids. But in 6th grade, you go into a school with all of these kids. You know, there's 4 elementary schools in my hometown that dump into one middle school. So there were all of these kids that that were new to me, new faces. And so, yeah, that I do recall that everybody was talking about it for a long time and probably snickering at me in the hallway. So, yeah, but and somewhere out there, there is a videotape of this. And since my mom is a pack rat, I imagine she still has it.
I want your mom to find the video. I want to digitize it and put it up on the internet.
You know, they moved a couple of years ago. I guess it's been like 5 or 6 years ago now. And God only knows what happened to all the stuff that was crammed into the attic there. I do know that, I mean, it's possible that I have it. The reality is that my mother showed up with tubs on my doorstep and was like, here you go. And I was like, what the fuck is this stuff? We get more this.
Parents do that. It's like, we don't want these memories, so you get to have them now.
Where's the shoebox? I'm over it. I just held on to it all these years free. I have not had the stamina to open any one of these boxes or tubs. I can't. I don't even know how long it would take me to go through it, and I'm afraid of what I would find in there. So I've ignored all of them, and maybe someday I will look at them, and maybe I won't. Maybe I will just combine them with all of the things that I'm collecting for my daughters. And
question, like, do you just save it and hand it off to your girls, and then it's also their stuff is in there as well, and then they save it, and we just pass down like all of the tangible,
never-ending cycle of shit that gets moved from attic to attic.
Yeah,
ad infinitum. Yeah, I think that's possible. I don't know. I mean, I can only imagine the things that are in there. I will say that the one thing that she gave me that I opened a small box up when she handed me everything, and it had in it these precious itty bitty little red suede lace up boots that I wore when I was 5 on stage as Molly in Annie.
Wow.
And Marla was like, those are so cute. I want to wear those. I was like, here you go. Have at it. And so I have this picture of her little feet in these boots that I wore. And I think she was 4 when she fit in them. That's how small I was when I wore them. But yeah. So that I'm happy she kept those, but God only knows what else is in there, and I'm not trying to find out anytime soon. So I'm sure the videotape's in there somewhere. So that was embarrassing story number 1. Not as embarrassing as when I was in 8th grade, and we were going to one of the boys was having a little get together at his house on the weekend, and all of us got there, and I had a little midriff shocker top on because it was the 90s. And the boys were in the snapping bra phase, and they went to snap my bra. And of course, there was no bra to snap because I had nothing to put in a bra. So what would the point of having a bra on be? And they immediately started making fun of me. Jenna doesn't wear a bra. I'm not sure why that was embarrassing to me at the time, but I was like, it was horrible for me then that they were making fun of me for this because all the other girls were apparently wearing bras and I was not. And I tried to pass it off as, I was just a dance class. And anyway, that made no sense, but that's what I said at that. So anyway, I went home and I was like, Mom, I got to go get a bra. I need to go get my bra. So as if the story couldn't get any more embarrassing, we go to JCPenney or Sears or wherever we went. And I'm in and keep in mind, I was on Blossom at the time. Okay. Because I started that show when I was 12. So by the time I'm in, 7th or 8th grade,
You're a couple of years in, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the throes of this series. And it was really like when it was, I think, at its peak. So I go to JCPenney or Sears with my mom and we're bra shopping. And why I thought it was a good idea to pick out some lacy little red number versus a training bra, I'll never know. And why my mom was like, sure, I'll also never know. I think she was just indulging me, like, because the reality is that I didn't need the bra to begin with. So what was the difference? What I got? So I get it, and I'm holding it in my hand, and this little boy, I hear this little boy's voice go, excuse me. And I turn around with this red lacy bra in my hand, and it's this boy and his mom. And the mom's like, oh, my son is just, he loves you and he loves your show. We love you so much. And I just stealthily snuck the bra behind my back and passed it off to my mom. She was like, Michael, can he have your autograph and take a picture with you? I was like, sure, give me a second. And I'm just shoving this bra to my mom. Yeah. So the moral of that story is don't go bra shopping when you're on a top 10 TV show and you're only 14 or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so that was my big, that's my big embarrassing moment.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
That's a lot, Jenna.
Yeah.
Did you get the bra?
I got the bra. Nowadays, we have Amazon and we can order these things and they can show up on our doorstep and nobody's any the wiser, right? But back then, it was a little bit of a different story.
Wow.
Yeah.
How brave of that young lady to decide to go to bra shopping in public that way.
One of my biggest adult embarrassing moments was back when I wasn't living in Nashville yet. I was still in LA, and I had started dating this guy here in Nashville. I was in my early 20s, and I was here for a week to visit. And a couple of the Titans players at the time, and I honestly couldn't even at this point tell you who they were, and they had asked if we wanted to go to dinner with them, and we were like, yeah, sure, no problem, we can totally do that. So we meet them for dinner at PF Chang's, okay? And
high rollers, those Tennessee Titans.
I know. Well, considering that they're on a severe losing streak at the moment, I can't say I blame them. They were, I think, doing significantly better at that point, but that's okay.
George was on the team because he's my boy.
He was on the team then, yeah. He was on the team then, totally.
They were pretty good back then.
Yeah, they were. So we go out to this dinner, and I'm eating shrimp fried rice, and I bite down on a shrimp, and I don't know, I guess the shell must have, I have, not everyone knows this, but I have, the whole front of my mouth is porcelain veneers. And I had this work done many, many years ago, okay, when I was a teenager. Because I didn't like I had a David Letterman size gap in between my two front teeth. And so I wanted it to be closed up. So for example, if you look at, there's a Blossom doll, right? And I am embarrassed more than anything to admit that. That's probably the most embarrassing thing I'm going to say during this episode. There was a Six doll, and they made it so that she had the gap in between her two front teeth like mine. And so I wanted to close that gap up because I was just not fond of it. I didn't like it. I never smiled with my mouth open. I still really don't because of my teeth. So I have these veneers done. I bite down on this shrimp. I hit a shell, and I feel what I know is one of my teeth in my mouth. I'm crunching down on it. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I excuse myself to the restroom, look in the mirror, and it is this front tooth that is gone. It's just gone. Okay. So this guy that I've just started dating, I kind of flag him over, and he comes over, and I'm like, listen, and I'm covering my mouth with my hand, and I'm like, I've lost a tooth. You don't know this about me, but there are porcelain veneers, and I've lost one, and I'm too embarrassed to go back to the table. And he's like, show me. I'm like, He was like, come on, just here's what we're going to do. First of all, how bad can it be? And I smile for him, and he bursts out laughing. And I'm like, well, that wasn't helpful. Then he goes, listen, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's one of those things where I had to go back to my dentist to have it done. I couldn't just randomly go somewhere. And so he was like, there's nothing you can do about it. You're here for another 4 days. You're just going to have to grin and bear it, literally. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that table. He's giving me like a pep talk, right? We're going to go back to that table. We're going to get a stiff drink in you, maybe 2, and we're going to laugh about it all together. And I'm like, with the Titans? And he was like, with the Titans. So I go and I go back to the table and I'm like, so funny thing happened. And I show them and they've burst out laughing and they're like, Patty Toothless. So they started calling me Patty Toothless. And you know what we did? The 4 of us went out that night and we had cocktails and we laughed. And I just tried to forget all about the fact that I looked like I was, Elmer Fudd or something. I don't know. It was insane.
Wow. That's so like baller status for you to just like, fuck this, I'm gonna live.
Well, to be fair, I'm not really sure I would have made that decision by myself. Like I did have, thankfully with some coaching from the guy that I had just started dating, who I was so embarrassed to even have to show him or to tell him that I had, these fake teeth, much less that one of them had come out and I was holding it in my hand. Yeah, it was an interesting trip. But I do think that embarrassment as an adult, it's so much harder for me to be embarrassed now as an adult than it ever was when I was younger. I mean, the reality is that once embarrassment kind of takes a backseat after you have kids, right? So
that is the truth. Yeah, I feel like modesty and everything got thrown out the window as soon as I had kids and I decided I was going to have to be a nursing mom and pop it out wherever, whenever, because that's just, you don't have a choice. Like, if that's what you're doing, you have to put your kids out there and go live your life and feed your babies. And so the sheet went up or the hoodie or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes people saw things and that's life. And I was such a private person before becoming a mom. And I was never like willing to touch or talk about gross things. And suddenly all of those inhibitions evaporated almost overnight. So
they go right out the window when when you're in the parking lot at Target and you realize that your kid had a total blowout and there was like poop all up their back and you have to take them into Target like that to buy another onesie to put them into because you've already gone through all the ones that you had in your car. And, it's just, I don't know. I also think we're, the motherhood in general, like everybody's just trying to do the best they can, right? Or at least you hope they are. But there is such a sect of judgy mamas, right? And so I think part of the embarrassment or lack thereof is having to own your own parenting style, your own parenting choices, knowing that you're doing the best you can to do right by your children and by your family dynamic and all of that. And then knowing that whatever anybody else is saying or looking at you sideways for is unimportant in the whole scheme of things, and I really do. I think that it breeds a thicker skin.
yes, I agree with you. I think that may be why I don't have it. I can't really think that I have any adult experiences with severe embarrassment like you would have in middle school or high school because of those extreme mom moments. It just makes everything else pale in comparison. But I do have 2 stories of my own embarrassment.
Bring it on.
And this first story I have secretly always dreamed about sharing publicly because it is just too good. So
hold that thought for a second. I'm going to pour myself a little more Aurico because I feel it's much like when you need popcorn at a movie theater in order for it to really feel right,
Yeah.
Have a little little glass of Albarino here and listen to your embarrassing moment. Cheers.
Okay. Cheers. Okay, so this both happened the same year of high school. I was a freshman, and I was really trying to find my people and my path and my thing. Like, other older family members had been sports all-stars and played basketball and ran track, and they were very good at all the things that they ever tried to do. And I'm not an athletic person. So I tried really hard to follow in my cousin's footsteps and play basketball like she did. I am not.
Not go for you.
Not basketball. I was playing in a game, and I was guarding some girl, and I somehow got the ball from her. And I was told, just shoot it, by someone who I later found out was my amazing stepfather, who was like, shoot the ball, just shoot the ball. So I made my way down and I shot the ball. I was in the right spot. I was at the right hoop. So that was like victory number 1 for me.
Okay, because that is what I thought. I'll be honest, that's what I thought you were going to tell me, was that you just shot it and you, okay.
No, there's a twist, because I was being guarded by a woman, not a girl, not a 9th grade girl, but a woman. She was tall and like made me look like a 5-year-old kid. And she was right in my face doing her best, and she was amazing and I was not. And she intimidated me very much. And I shot the ball as I was told by my stepfather, Rick. And Rick was sorely disappointed because I just shot the ball and nothing. Like here is the goal, and here is my ball way over here. Like, it was full on air ball, not even close. And there was a silence in the entire gymnasium as the ball is going through the air, slow motion style. And just all you hear is of the ball, and then boom, boom, and it bounced twice. And then I just was like, that's it for me. I'm going to be the queen of assists on this team. I'm passing the ball every time I get it. And I ended up being the queen of assists, but I never, ever tried to shoot it again. It was just not good. So that was pretty rough, but it wasn't this story, which is what I think you'll be very happy about, because
this is clearly what I poured the wine for.
This is what you poured the wine for. Yeah. That last one was just a warm up. So I, again, on the basketball team, all of our 9th grade team, we had a sleepover at my house. And I lived in this cool neighborhood where all the other cool kids, the popular boys at school, the varsity like football players and the varsity basketball players, they all lived within walking distance of my house. And so we had the sleepover at my house, and my mom came down at like midnight, and she said, girls, it would be so fun if you guys all went on a midnight walk. And, you know, as those mothers do, protective role, go on a midnight walk in your neighborhood unsupervised. Why not? It's fine. It's just a few blocks. We're in Ohio. What could possibly go wrong? So we all go out, and we did, like, it was a very short walk. I think we did like 3 blocks, and it was going just fine until we passed Travis's house. And Travis was the boy that we all had a crush on, and he was the best basketball player on the varsity team. He was a senior that year, and he was everything. Like, all of the girls, he was Justin Bieber to us. Like, he was everything. And my friend Rachel decided it was a good idea to go up to his window of his house and yell his name while we walked by. And everyone took off running down the street. And my house was about 4 or 5 houses away from his, so it wasn't like we had far to go. But when they took off running, all of this terror filled my body, and I just sprinted as fast and as hard as I could. And suddenly, I found myself flat on my back, seeing stars. I had hit something, my head. I was down. I just slammed my head into something. and I had no clue. And I'm looking up and I see like wood 2x4s hanging off the back of a truck in the driveway. And somehow I had run head first into these 2x4s that everyone else had somehow managed to see and dodge. And I was done. I was seeing stars, but I was so embarrassed that he might see me that I got up as fast as I could and I sprinted with a concussion to my house. And I got inside and everybody's like, oh my God, are you okay? Like I had a huge mark from the wood on my forehead that lasted for a week. So I had to go to school on Monday morning after this sleepover with this mark on my head. And Sir Travis, the basketball whiz, was very well aware that it was because of our crush on him that I had the mark of the beast. So
that your mom never suggested a midnight walk again.
Oh no, she definitely did. She
Oh my God.
But I never did it again.
It's a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good one.
I feel like that's the biggest. But as life happens, I can't say that I would be embarrassed at all if that particular person found out that I did that today, because I don't think that I'm very interested in him anymore. So
yeah, I used to feel that way. Like I had the biggest crush on Joey Lawrence when we were working together, which he has known now for years, right? I'm sure he knew it back then, and he graciously did not mention it or make fun of me for it or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure he possibly has behind my back, just not to my face, but I appreciated greatly. But I had this huge, huge, huge crush on Joey, as did my character, right? So there were all of these embarrassing things they would have my character do, which were simultaneously embarrassing for Jenna the person, because I also had a crush on him, and so it was equally embarrassing for me to have to do these things, and they were on camera in front of millions of people, in all of my like acne ridden glory. I was having to like make out with my hand and stupid shit, things that like you just wouldn't want anybody to see. And the boys that I liked in real life were also seeing this, which was terrible for me at the time. And now I'm just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, I mean, like my first kiss ever, for example, was on camera with Jonathan Brandis. And we it was mortifying when we're like, he obviously he had dated and he was much more experienced than I was, and here I am not knowing what the hell I'm doing, and they tell us to kiss, and so we kissed and like actually kissed. Like I was quite surprised when his tongue went down my throat. So here we are playing tonsil hockey in front of the Russo family residence, and they yell cut, and the camera guy, who was probably in his 40s at the time, was like, Jenna, don't you know that on-screen kisses you're not supposed to use tongue? And I was so embarrassed, because no, I did not know that, but also it's not like I tried to slip somebody the tongue. Like that's the situation I found myself in. And when in Rome, apparently
yeah.
Yeah, so lots of embarrassing things. And but I do remember that I was so terrified that Joey was going to figure out that I liked him. I was probably the most obvious person ever, but at that time you're clueless and you think you're being subtle. And granted, subtlety has never really been my forte anyway, but years and years and years later, as an adult, I was like, hey, remember when I had a huge crush on you? So, you let me off the hook about it, which I appreciate.
That's gracious.
It is.
I mean, crushes are so difficult. Even maybe as an adult, things can be embarrassing if you have a crush. Like I think it's fortunate that I haven't had to do a lot of dating around, because after divorce, I mean, sometimes that would be, I could imagine you could get yourself into a lot of embarrassing situations that way.
Well, particularly because now dating is there's such a world of difference between dating back when we, were dating before we got married. And you got married younger than I did, I think. But dating then and dating now is so different with social media and Hinge and Tinder and all the things. Like, it's, I don't know, it's just a totally different situation. And so I think that it's such a breeding ground for things to go awry. But same here. I haven't done a ton of dating. So I can't say that I've had embarrassing moments like that. I think I'm watching my girls now, though, at basically 10 and 12. Because Marla will be 10 very shortly here. And Gray will be a teenager in May. And I don't know, now I'm sort of just relishing the fact that they haven't hit peak embarrassment phase yet. Because when Gray started middle school, I was convinced that she was no longer going to kiss me goodbye or say I love you when she got out of the car during drop off. And you know what? I was incredibly and very happily surprised that she not only kissed me goodbye, but she'd get out of the car and be like, "Love you, Mom." And, we do the ASL, "I love you." And so she'll actually like shout it. And, she was standing there in front of 8th graders. She didn't care. "I love you, Mom." And I was like breathing a sigh of relief because I felt my chest just tense up that first day I dropped her off, because I was certain that she was going to be horribly embarrassed by me and not want to even own the fact that her mother was dropping her off. And that just wasn't what we went through. And I'm really pleasantly surprised that hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood. I'll knock on every piece of wood near me right now.
I'll knock on it with you, because that's I have already embarrassed my daughter, and I did not see it coming. Jenna, I have worked very hard to be like a decent, not embarrassing human. But I dropped Charlotte off at school one day this year and wanted to confirm the time that I was picking her up, because she had practice after school. And I wanted to just confirm, is it 5 o'clock or is it 5:30? But she didn't hear me when she was getting out. And so I rolled the window down to say it again. And she still didn't hear me, and she was walking away. But then I was saying, "Charlotte, Charlotte." And she still wasn't hearing me, but her friend was hearing me and said, "Hey, Charlotte, your mom is trying to get your attention." And so she marched back with like a really sour look on her face. And I said, "Can you just let me know what time I'm supposed to be here to pick you back up later?" And she's like, 5 o'clock. And then she went into the building. Well, I picked her up later that day after practice. And the first thing she said to me was, "Never do that to me again. You have embarrassed me so much. And let me have it for trying to figure out what time I was supposed to be there." And I said, "Oh, Charlotte," she said, I'm never going to embarrass my kids like this when I grow up." And
just you wait, sweetheart.
Exactly. I was like, I sat in your seat right there, and I said to my mom, "I'm never going to embarrass my kids." And I was not even trying, and I embarrassed you. So I know for a fact you will. And she was like, "No, I'll be way cooler." And I was just like,
Here's my advice for mothers everywhere. You ready? This is what I've come up with. I think if we just purposely embarrass our children from time to time as they're growing up, we desensitize them to that embarrassment, so that when something like that happens, that's nothing, because it's nothing compared to what we could be doing, and they know it. That's right. What I'm going with. I'm going with that.
But then I found myself like just laughing about it. And then later, like that week, we were walking in the parking lot, and she was walking next to me, and I was like, "Can you go over there? I don't want to be seen with you. You're embarrassing me." It was a joke, and she got the joke, and we laughed, and that was funny. So maybe we give them a taste of their own medicine.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like when they say that if your child is throwing a temper tantrum, you throw yourself on the floor and throw a temper. Now, I do not abide by this, by the way. You're not going to find me doing this ever. But, there are some people who have like thrown a temper tantrum in front of their kids, and their kids just stop in their tracks because it's so absurd to see their parent throwing a temper tantrum that it just makes them completely forget that they were throwing one, and then everything's kind of back to normal. I will say that my kids are both, and you know this about them, they are highly, highly snarky. The apple does not fall far from the snarky tree. And so I also think that it's harder for me to embarrass my kids because they dish it right back.
Yes.
And I do love that about them.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like when I said that I let the kids roast me at dinner sometimes. Like it gives them freedom to kind of embrace that kind of sarcasm, learn about, I don't know, social cues and what's appropriate and what's not. And
totally
everything becomes even playing field.
So I don't know if I've told you this story, but do you know the story about cute Jason?
Yes, but you haven't told it on the podcast, so I would love.
It's my favorite. Okay. So as you know, and I at this point, if people have been listening since episode 1, I'm sure everybody else knows too, I have my neighborhood, Mexican restaurant where I frequent, and that's an understatement. And I through that, because it's like my Cheers, I have met people, regulars, other fellow regulars, and we will sometimes meet up there, whether purposely or not, and have a margarita and share lunch or whatever. And I've gotten to know a couple of people really, really well. And one of them is this guy named Jason, who's awesome. And our other friend there, before I knew Jason really well, we were talking and she's like, Jason? And I'm like, I think so. And she goes, Jason, cute Jason. And I was like, oh, I totally know who you're talking about. Yeah, cute Jason. So that is our nickname for him. We always call him cute Jason. And now everybody that I know who I've introduced him to since knows him as cute Jason, which embarrasses the shit out of him, which is great. I love it. It makes me laugh. So he happens to work at an optometrist. And he was like, Gray needed to go get glasses, new glasses. She needed to see the optometrist and be re-measured and do all the tests and whatever. It had been a couple of years. And so he was like, oh, come in and see me and we'll take care of her. So I bring her in and she gets all of her tests done. And we're sitting there waiting for her to go back and see the doctor. And Jason says to her, so, because Marla was there too. He's like, so what have you guys been up to in school? And Gray looks at him and she's like, oh, school stuff. So you're cute Jason, huh? And this is in front of all of his coworkers who now make fun of him for being cute Jason.
Aw.
But like that's the level of I don't give a damn that Gray and Marlo both have that I love so much, which is that she's willing to look at somebody that she's never met before and be like, so you're cute Jason, huh? And the way she said it was so perfect and it was so deadpan and it caught him so off guard and he just turned beet red. It was great. I loved every minute of it.
I wish that I could have been there to see that because I can hear her voice just delivering that so dryly.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you've met cute Jason, right? Have you met cute Jason?
I feel like I haven't because I feel like I would really know that.
Yeah, I think you would know. So, yeah. So feel free, when I introduce you, I'll make sure that I introduce him as cute.
Text me next time you're with cute Jason. It's like finally speaks to the name, and maybe he can he be a guest on our show sometime? Like what? Oh my God, we should have eyes.
We should have cute Jason on.
Yeah.
I love this idea. Okay, we're going to make this happen. Cute Jason is going to be a guest on our podcast. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but he's going to be a guest on our podcast.
He's going to give us all kinds of optometry facts.
Is that an interesting episode for people? A ton of optometry facts? Because I feel like we might be missing the boat on that one. Like, I don't know if there's enough vodka to get people through a full hour podcast.
How about we ask cute Jason what things he knows about that are cute, and then we can go from there. Food overload with cute Jason.
Oh boy, poor Jason. Jason's gonna listen to this and be like, "What have you done?" Oh,
I'm gonna get his face on some t-shirts. It'll be great.
We should definitely have t-shirts.
Yes. Oh my God.
What was this episode about? Oh yeah, embarrassing moments.
Nailed it. Do-do-do, theme song out. We just slam dunked it for sure. It wasn't an air ball. That's true.
Thank God, because you did not need another one of those.
No, I've done enough of that.